It says faith, it tells us that faith is central to grit, right? That we, by faith, we receive the grace to stand. By faith, we receive the grace to stand. So faith is central to grit. And when I say faith, I'm talking about this essential belief, this essential heart confidence, not in yourself and your ability to overcome, even though that's important, but it's more so focused on the faith you have in God himself. Now, you can have personal faith, you can have faith in a structure or a system or a process, you can have faith in all kinds of things, but ultimately, it is our faith in God that sustains us in the environments where we don't know how to make things work. And it's believing that God has not abandoned us. It's believing that God is with us. It's believing that God has not lost control. It is believing that God is still Lord over all that we see, even though it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and it doesn't demonstrate the attributes of what we believe would be kingdom-oriented culture or life. And that's because, listen, there are two conflicting worlds that are competing over the souls of men. There's the kingdom of darkness and the kingdom of light. And we have to understand that those two kingdoms are constantly clashing. And the more people give themselves over to darkness, the more we're going to see chaos, injustice, brokenness, all the stuff that we see in the earth today. And the more we give ourselves over to Christ and over to the principles of light and truth, the more we are going to overcome and see the peace and blessings of God. The point is that conflict is being found in the souls of men. And as it's being played out in the souls of men, it's being revealed or manifest in the culture and the community and the nation and the environments that we all live in. And so the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, folks. They're not natural or fleshly. They're mighty through God. And we have to have a faith that God has the ability to cast down these things, to overcome these things, to triumph over these things. And not only that he will, but that he already has. And so there's a faith that's essential for us to enter into grit, the ability to continue to believe that the fight is worth fighting, and the stand is worth taking, and the hope is worth having. Here's what the Bible says about Jesus. It says, and it's an affirmation to you and I. Count it all joy, James says this to us, my brothers, when we meet trials of various kinds. For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. Another way of saying grit. It produces grit. And so let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. Think about that. God says faith will direct you, right? The testing of your faith will direct you into producing grit. Most of our faith today is directed towards how do we avoid struggle. But true faith is revealed in struggle. Grace is activated when faith is tested. So we will never discover the grace. And when I say grace, I am talking about God's empowerment, God's ability. Okay? Romans tells us this, that we become steadfast through faith. It tells us this in Corinthians 16. Be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong. We see it again in 2 Corinthians 1:24. For by faith you stand, right? So by faith you have the ability to stand when there's struggle, to stand for truth, to stand for righteousness, to stand honorable, to stand strong when everything else is trying to knock you over. Remember what it says in Romans 5. It says, access by faith into his grace by which we stand. So, it would be important to understand that faith activates grace, right? So grit is a grace.